Okay, so what I'd like to do right now is show you how you can get some data into your TI graphing calculator. I have a TI84 here on screen, as you can see, but the TI83 is the same calculator. It just looks different color or what have you, but they do the same, essentially the same thing. So what you'll need to do right now is open up the data example with the U.S. president ages that's in Blackboard. And what I want to do is show you how to get this data set into your calculator and then sort it so that we can create a frequency table and then, of course, a frequency histogram. Notice how the data is out of order. The first example I worked for you in an earlier PDF was some temperature data, but that data was in order. And when the data is in order, it really makes it kind of easy. When it's out of order, you're going to have to put it in your calculator, and then there's a command in there where you can tell it to sort it. And then, of course, you could look at the sorted data on your calculator screen. What this skill of getting data in a calculator quickly and efficiently is key, especially in Chapter 3. Chapter 3 is finding all the statistics on data. So, one of the things that you're going to need to do is get the data in the calculator and then ask the calculator to crunch all the stats. All right, so to begin, you turn your calculator on. I've already put the data in, but I'm going to do is kind of run through the motions, and you can pause the video and catch up at some point when you need to. So how it works is your calculator has 6 pre-programmed lists where you could dump data into, and you put data in there, and the data stays in those lists until you delete it. So how you access your lists is in the stat button right here. So if you click on the stat button, notice you got a few menus up top. It says Edit, Calculate, and Tests. We're going to be using all 3 of these menus a lot in this course, so get used to this stat button. But it's the first menu that I'm really interested in. It's called the Edit menu. This is how you enter data into a list. So notice there's a few options here. Option 1 is Edit. Not obvious how you put data into a list. Then there's a couple of sort features. Sort A meaning sort ascending, and then sort D meaning descending. All right, and then there's a couple other list features that I don't use for clearing and setting up new lists or what have you. I don't use these options very often, but these first 2, I would say, where you edit a list and maybe sort it in ascending fashion, they're going to be used a lot. All right, so what I'm going to do right now, let's get this data into the calculator. So to do that, you want to tell the calculator you're going to edit a list. So you choose option 1 by pressing the number 1, or notice how it's highlighted the number 1, and you can hit enter. So I'm going to push the number 1. And notice here's a list, it's called L1. Notice there's some data in L2. Actually, in L2 is this actual data. I've typed it in there to save us some time. But if you move across the top of the list, then it's L1, L2, L3. There's 3 different lists, L4, L5, L6. And then there's a blank list where you could create your own list if you wanted to. I never run out of list space. If I feel like I'm running out, I just clear out a list. So how you enter data into a list, it's really simple. You go to a list, go to the first entry by using these arrows and moving around, and you type. Say you want to put in, 57, this first piece of data. You type 57 and hit enter. And then it automatically carriage returns. The next data value is 61. 61. Enter. All right, well, you play this game straight down, and there's 44 president ages here that you'd have to put in your calculator. All right, so like I said, I've done that already. I put it in list number 2. All right, so what you should do right now, so you can catch up to me, pause the video for a minute, get these 44 pieces of data in there, and of course give it a quick check to make sure that you didn't make any typos, and then pick up. All right, so I'll assume you have that data in. So what you want to do right now is you want to sort the data. Now I have a couple of miscellaneous data values in L1, and you could have put your data in L1 or L2 or L3. It doesn't matter where you put your data. I'll show you how to call the lists in a few minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clear out this data in L1 because I don't want it in there. So I'm going to go on top of L1, and you should never hit the delete key, because if you hit the delete key, it deletes the whole list, including the L1, and you won't see it anymore. So when you want to clear a list, you push the clear button. So if you clear it, notice it's still there until you move down. Once you move down, notice that it's gone. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the data in list 2. It's fine. If you want to put it in list 1 or 3, it doesn't matter. All right, so what I'm going to do right now is I want to tell the calculator to sort this data. Now notice if I move over, that's the first piece of data, 57, 61, then there's 2 57s. You can see that's the actual data set. But I want this data set to be in order, so that's easier for me to put it on a frequency table, once I create the classes and what have you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the calculator to sort the data. So how you do that is you push the stat key again. Now notice it goes out of that menu, but that data is in there. It will not leave that menu even if you turn your calculator off, because the calculator's got a battery, a watch battery, and it keeps the memory in there. So what you want to do is you want to sort. So I'm going to choose the sort in ascending fashion command, which is option 2. So you do that by choosing 2. Now notice it says sort in ascending fashion, and notice that the cursor is blinking, because what's going on right now is it wants to know, well, there's 6 lists in there. Which of the lists do you want me to sort? So you've got to tell it to sort the list where you put the data. Now remember, I put my data in list 2. You could have put it in, any one of those 6 lists that you wanted to. Now the command for the lists, it's above the keys for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Notice above the number 1, I know it's light here, but in my calculator it's blue. If you have a TI84, I believe it's in yellow, I believe. Notice above 1 it says L1. Above 2 it says L2, ... So I want to say L2. So right now it's blinking. I want to put L2 in there. So to activate that second function of L2, you hit the second key, and then type 2. And notice it says L2. You close the parentheses. So again, sort in ascending fashion, list number 2. Now, if you put your data in list 5, of course, you would hit second number 5, and what have you. All right, so you hit enter. You got to tell it to do it, in other words. Now, notice it just says done. All right, so what does that mean? All right, that means it did it. So meaning what? Well, if I go back to the list, if it's stat, and then go to edit again, notice now the list is in ascending fashion, right? So the lowest guy is the 42-year-old. Okay, so there's the 42-year-old. Where is he? There he is right here, right? This is the 42-year-old right here. Okay, the oldest guy is Reagan. Go to the bottom of the list. There he is. That's the 69-year-old. Here's Reagan right here. All right, so now the data is in order, and now, of course, you can begin with the frequency table by using the class width formula and doing highest piece of data, subtract off lowest piece of data, divided by the number of classes. And then you could run through the whole construction of the frequency table and the frequency histogram, and then, of course, the shape of the distribution. All right, so I'll do this example in a pencast for you so you can see it all done. I'm going to actually, I'll create a pencast so you can actually watch me do it. All right, so you just, again, the rehash. By the way, quitting, when you're in a menu, you go second. See the little quit right there? It's above the mode key. What that does is it gets you back to the home screen. This is where you do your calculations. So remember, what do? You go to stat, you choose option 1 for edit. You type your data in whatever list you want. Once your data is in there, you hit stat, choose a sort command, like say sort ascending. You tell it the list, tell it to do it, and of course it just says done. All right, so if you have any questions on that, shoot me an email.